For foam rolling, we're going to start on your back. You can work your way all the way up to the top of your shoulder blades, all the way down. You can start to play around with hand position. You can reach up overhead, stretch out. You can reach up to the sky. You can even give yourself a hug like you're at the chiropractor, kind of rock side to side. The overall goal with foam rolling, we want to cover a full range of motion over the entire area or muscle that we're rolling. And if you find an area that's fairly painful, you want to spend a little bit of extra time there. We're trying to break up some of those muscle knots and things like that. You don't want it to be so painful that you have to hold your breath. So in the various positions, I'll show you ways to take some weight off so that you can still talk and breathe. If you're holding your breath, it's too painful. So take some pressure off so that you can break those muscle knots up effectively. So that's the back. From there, we'll move down to the glute. For here, you can rock to one side. Usually the side of the glute is where you're going to find some muscle knots, some of those painful areas. You can also take your ankle, prop it up on your opposite knee, really dig in there to find some more of those muscle knots. You can take weight off by putting more weight on your feet. Also, this back hand, you can put some more weight on there to take some of that pressure off, again, so you're not having to hold your breath. From there, we'll work our way down to the hamstring. From there, we're going to work all the way from the back of the knee all the way up to our hips. You can roll both at the same time. That'll help distribute some of that pressure so that it's not so painful. If you can, if you need to, you can cross your legs over so you can dig in that hamstring a little bit deeper, or you can take this opposite foot, put it on the floor to take some of that pressure off. You can roll around sometimes, especially if you've been running a lot. Right back here on the outside of the back of the knee will be pretty sore. But you'll dig around those areas, try to find those painful spots, break up those muscle knots. From there, we'll move down to the calf. Again, you can go both at the same time. What works really well for me is to take this opposite foot, place it behind the foam roller, then you can roll up and down. A lot of times, again, below the back of the knee on the outside, you'll find some pretty painful spots in there if you've been walking or hiking or running a lot. And really search around, point the toe in different directions, see where those painful spots are. Next up is the IT band, which is typically not a fan favorite because it's one of the more painful areas. We're looking at the side of the thigh here. So typically what I recommend, forearm down, hand down, and then post on this foot so you can take some of that weight off. Roll all the way up to the hip, all the way down to the outside of the knee. Which is usually fairly painful. You can also rock forward about a 45-degree angle. You'll find some painful spots right here on the outside of the knee. You can break those up. Get both sides. From there, we'll roll over to the quads. For your quads, you can get both at the same time. Your quads, you really have to work to actively relax your quads. If you flex your quads and roll over the top, you can do it without it being uncomfortable at all. You really don't get much out of it. You need to relax so you can really dig in there, break up those muscle knots. You usually right down the center of that quad, you'll find some painful areas, as well as on the inside and outside, right above your kneecap. If you find some painful areas, you can also put some pressure on it and then flex your knee. It'll help stretch that out. It's not going to feel great, but it'll help break that knot up. Again, for all of your foam rolling, make sure that it's not so painful that you have to hold your breath. For snow angels, basically we're going to throw it back to when we were little kids, making snow angels in the snow. If you have a foam roller, it'll sit right on the end so you can lay back, runs right up and down your spine, and then your head is going to be relaxed on the foam roller. If you don't have a foam roller, that's fine. You can just do this on the floor. From there, take your hands, palms down at your side. You're going to slide them on the floor like you're making a snow angel. Once they get to about a 45-degree angle, you're gonna feel your hands. I'm gonna flip over. Go ahead and let them. So now my palms are pointed at the ceiling. Reach up as high as you can. My goal is to keep my back flat on the foam roller, so I'm not arching my back or my back flat on the floor. And then keep your arms as close to the floor as you can. All the way up, all the way down is one rep. Sweeping the floor, trying to reach out away from your body and keep your arms as close to the floor as you can. For single leg lowering, you're gonna lay flat on your back. Then you're gonna either use a band or a towel. If you don't have a band, I'll show you both options. You're gonna hook up one foot, lay back, pull that leg up as high as you can, keeping this knee straight. So I'm gonna pull it up as high as I can, knee is straight. From there, my head is relaxed on the floor, bring the other leg up right next to it, drop it nice and slow. As you drop this leg, you'll feel a stretch down the back of this hamstring. If you don't have a band, do the same thing with a towel or a t-shirt, really anything that you can hook on that foot and hold. The elasticity of the band is not needed, just need something you can hold that foot in place with. For the sideline rotation, you're gonna lay on your side, and then you're probably gonna need something about the size of a foam roller or a football. You're gonna bring this top knee up as high as you can, get as close to your face as you can, and then you're gonna drop it towards the floor. If you can get it all the way to the floor, that's great. You may find you need something to keep it up as you start to rotate. From there, I'm gonna keep this, the bottom side leg as straight as I can. Both hands start on the floor. I'm gonna take the top hand, sweep the floor in an arc motion. And as I do that, I'm gonna reach up to the ceiling with this hand. So I'm pressing up through that shoulder, trying to get that hand to the ceiling. Meanwhile, pressing down on this knee. So it's like you're wringing your body out. You wanna keep contact with that football, that foam roller. Sweep back across, sweep again. Cats and dogs, you're gonna start on all fours. From there, arch my back towards the ceiling. You're gonna suck your belly button to the sky, tuck your chin to your chest, spread your shoulder blades apart. Then in a fluid motion, drive your belly button to the floor, pinch your shoulder blades together, slightly look up, alternate between those two positions in a smooth fashion. Trying to get that spine warmed up. For the cheetah, you're gonna start on all fours. From there, I'm gonna bridge up, driving my heels to the floor. I'm trying to drive my hips to the ceiling and my shoulders to the floor. So ideally, I'm trying to make a V out of my body. From there, dive your shoulders to the floor, leave your hips on the floor, press your shoulders up. Now in this position, if you feel this in your low back at all, pinch, whatever it may be, any type of feeling in your low back, don't do it. Just come back to here. So if you feel that in your low back, you go up, right back to your knees. If you can, you're gonna go here, drop those shoulders, then drive them up, leaving your hips on the floor, and right back up. For the bird dog knee to elbow, you're gonna start on all fours, and then using your opposite arm, opposite leg, I'm gonna use left arm, right leg, extend out, so I'm kicking backwards, trying to drive my heel through that back wall and reaching my fingertips towards the camera, trying to get as long as possible. Then I'm gonna bring my knee to my elbow, right back out, get as long as possible, and I'm not coming above my body. So my heel and my hand are staying in line with the rest of my body, getting long, knee to elbow, back out. If you wanna make this more challenging, you can line your knee and your hand up. The more in line they are, the harder it is from a balance standpoint. The wider base of support you have, the easier the balance is. For the sprinkler, you're gonna sit back on your heels, bring your hands out in front, nice and flat. One hand comes up, comes to the side of your face. You're going elbow to elbow. Then you're gonna actively press down on this hand as you rotate and open up with that other elbow. Elbow to elbow, press that other hand into the floor. As you rotate, try to use that pressure to help you open up a little bit more. For the hip flexor stretch, we're gonna be on one knee with the opposite leg up, about a 90-degree angle. You wanna put a pad underneath your knee. You can use a folded up towel, any type of pad you can use just to provide some cushion. Then if you have a foam roller, you can use that. If not, you can use a chair or anything. Basically, we just want something you can push down on a little bit. So I'm gonna push down, it'll help get your core activated. Then you're gonna drive your hip towards the bottom of that foam roller and pull with your front foot like you're trying to slide it towards you. It's glued to the floor, so it's not gonna go anywhere, but you're using that to help pull that front hip, or excuse me, the front of the hip towards that foam roller. Should feel a big stretch down that hip flexor. For the quad stretch, we're gonna be in the same position. What we're gonna do now is you can use one hand, two hands, or I'll show you how to use a band here in a second. We're gonna get a little bit more focus on the quad. So same position, you're gonna reach back, get a hold of that ankle, Goal here is to pull that heel towards your hip and then sit up tall, drive that hip forward. If you can reach back, grab with both hands, sit up tall, that's fine. If that's not happening, for whatever reason, just not flexible enough yet, you can use a band and you can just wrap that around that ankle and then pull up over the top of your shoulder. You can use a towel, anything like that. As you pull that heel towards your hip, drive that hip forward to get a little bit more of a stretch. For the supine hip stretch, you're gonna be flat on your back. Bend your knees so your feet are flat on the floor. Then you're gonna take one ankle, place it on the opposite side knee, lay back, and then press that knee down. Should feel a stretch through the side of your hip. For curl ups, you're gonna lay flat on the floor. Hands are gonna go flat on your thighs. The idea here is you wanna sit straight up, nice and slow, without bringing your legs up off the floor. Same thing in reverse, down nice and slow, sliding your hands on your thighs without lifting your legs up. If you find your legs are popping up off the floor, you can take a foam roller, really anything you have, you can place it between your legs, actively squeeze that together as you sit up. It'll help you keep your legs on the floor so that we're activating that core, letting those hip flexors relax. For the RDL reach with heels up and toes up, we're going to start with the heels up. See, my heels are propped up on just a piece of a 1x4. You can use a piece of a mat, the edge of something in your house, really anything. You can get your heels up off the floor just a little bit. From there, knees slightly bent. You're going to reach down towards your toes as far as you can. Then reach up nice and tall, alternating back and forth for the given number of reps. Once you're done with that, back up. Now we're doing the same thing, but this time my toes are up off the floor. So gonna get a little bit more stretch through that calf. Reach down towards the floor, knees slightly bent. Reach up nice and tall. For the ankle pump, you're gonna keep your foot flat on the floor, and then you wanna use some sort of marker. For now, I'm gonna use a foam roller. You're gonna drive straight over your toes as far as you can, keeping that heel flat. I'm driving straight at that marker. You're gonna come back. I'm gonna move the foam roller for now just so you can see. Next, I'm gonna drive over the big toe. So if that marker were in place, I'm coming inside of that foam roller, come back. Now I'm going outside the marker, going towards the pinky toe. Come back. All three of those directions, I'm keeping my foot completely flat. Heel stays on the floor. Goal here is working on your ankle mobility, trying to open up that ankle as much as possible. One of the reasons we use a marker, when I come forward, get a light touch in that marker, that's as far as I can go. My foot is totally flat. Compare your feet side to side. If you find that one ankle is a little bit more limited than the other, do twice as many reps on that side so we can try to even those out. For the stride and twist, you're gonna stride out with one leg in front, one leg behind. This back leg, try to keep it completely straight if you can. All your weight's gonna be on this front leg. You can put this front hand down for balance, but you should be able to pick it up if you needed to, so we don't want a whole bunch of weight here. If you find yourself loading this hand up because you need it for balance, kick this back leg out, still straight, but a little bit wider so you have more balance. From there, again, this hand's just hanging out, all my weight's here. You're gonna rotate, try to point this hand to the ceiling, following this hand as it moves with your eyes. Again, actively press that front leg into the floor as you rotate. Toe touch to overhead squat. You're gonna get in an athletic position, feet about shoulder width apart. From there, reach down to your toes. You're gonna reach underneath your toes, so underneath your shoes. You can bend your knees as much as you need to, depending on how flexible you are. Once I get my hands under there, I'm actively gonna pull up on my toes as my hips come down. So I'm using that pull on my toes to pull my hips down. Drive your knees outside your arms. Once you get your hips as low as you can, chest nice and tall, reach up, thumbs backwards, stand up. So again, reach down, grab those toes, hips down, reach up, stand up.